Okay. All right. So with that, let's just kick it off with the first question. Who wants to come up first? Here we go.
So where are we with the racetrack?
Where are we with the racetrack?
I understand it was a location thing.
It's a what?
It was a location thing. We're trying to find a
Location thing?
location for it.
Well, I think we need a location, right?
Okay.
That's the issue. So let me just turn it over to Mike here. I'm not here to pass the buck. I want you to hear from. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. And where's Lee? Where's Lee? Raise your hand. Lee. I mean, Lee is the guy that texts me morning to night about the racetrack with photos and proclamations and federal law and state law. He's your biggest advocate. But I keep Lee informed of what we're up to. And last week we had a very important meeting with the Navy. And the reason for that meeting was we've always looked at the BRAC lands, which are the lands that the Navy is going to transfer to the city and county of Honolulu, as the possible potential site for a racetrack. There's 400 acres total, and the 400 acres are split among many parcels. And we tried initially to get the Navy to convey to us some parcels individually, and they didn't want to do that because on a couple of the parcels there are potential toxic chemicals. And so they had to go through a process of disclosing to us what is there. And then our request back to them was, if we take this property from you and those chemicals subsequently end up on what's called CERCLA, which is a toxic chemical list, you will come back if as necessary and remediate or indemnify the city. And they had never done that before. And we asked them to do that for us. And it took about 3 months. And last week they came back with a letter telling the city and county of Honolulu that they would in fact be responsible for PFAS, even if it ends up on the CERCLA list. So that was huge for us. And now we're moving very quickly to take title to the property. Their time frame is April. What we can't control is the Department of Health, because they have to go to the Department of Health first, and the Department of Health has got to sign off on their plan. So as soon as the Department of Health signs off, then we're going to take title. We hope to do that sometime in April. That's very ambitious, but we hope to do it in April. And then there's a couple of things we have to do. When they gave us that letter of indemnity, they also then said we cannot disturb the soil. So before it was the groundwater because of PFAS, and now it's the soil. But what we said to them is that if your intention is to put a racetrack there, that's actually perfect, because we would be capping the soil. And so I think it's going to work out, waiting for the Department of Health. We have to do a soil mitigation plan, and then we have to go back to the Navy and file a new utilization plan, because under the utilization plan filed by the Caldwell administration, there was no racetrack. So we'll go back and we'll amend the utilization plan, we'll put a racetrack in, and then we'll move forward. So I'm encouraged by what happened last week. I hope Lee and the community have heard about this. I think it's a good move for us. The mayor has committed to do everything we can to put a racetrack on that property. We have to get the property before PFAS potentially ends up on the CERCLA list, because if it does, they will not be able to transfer the property to us. So we need to move quickly, and we're going to do our very best, and that's our commitment to you.
All right. Lee, you want to come up?
Now, the chemical, oh, sorry, I'm already loud as it is. This area that he was talking about, like, keep in mind that it's 400 acres, but the area that's contaminated is 220 acres. Now, I mean, what we're proposing to use for motorsports, but out of the 220 acres, I think it's only 30 that's questionable on the PFAS. Now, the PFAS, the reason it's, like my professors say, it's the famous chemical right now. They call it the Kardashian chemical, famous for the wrong reasons. And it's because of the whole Camp Lejeune thing. That chemical is actually the same thing on your nonstick cookware. It's in your ovens, it's in your microwaves, and it's even in your clothes. It was called Scotchgard. Okay, so that's the chemical of concern, but you have to understand the government is very paranoid about stuff like that. Because I got a list of all the other stuff that's there. There's arsenic, asbestos, atrazine, chromium, canding. I mean, it's like I tell you guys, it's nothing worse than we have in our garages already. Half of all the products that you guys have has that Proposition 65 label on it, right? Says it'll cause cancer. And it's true. I've been in motorsports 45 years. I've had 13 tumors removed, and I'm still here. And, but that's what, please be hopeful. I want to let you know, this is the first time we've had an administration that is supporting this and committed to see it go through. We have never had that before. I was involved in applying for this property when I was working with Jeremy Harris, 1998. And then I went through Mufi. And then I went through Caldwell. Only until this gentleman came along and he looked at it and said, you know what, you're right. And he believes in playing. You know, he's a big George Bernard Shaw fan. And what does he say? We grow old when we stop playing. We don't stop playing because we grow old. And that's this man right here.
Thank you. Is there anything else you want to follow up with?
Do you have the location of this, by the way?
Well, it's in the Bracklands at Kalailoa. Do we have a specific,
No,
not a
Kalailoa.
specific thing, but it's on Kalailoa.
All right, thank you.
Out here. What? We have maps. Mike's saying we have maps available. We can show you guys.
Okay.
Yeah, Lee has that information, but yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I'll go on record here is that we know the Department of Health is an issue. We don't want to get bogged down in bureaucracy either. I think one of the things that our administration has going for us right now is a very good relationship with the governor. He and I talk all the time. On an issue like this, I will push him to push the Department of Health. I don't want to get lost in bureaucracy either. We'll see if we can't play through that part of it. And then beyond that, just so you know, one of the things we learned, come up and I know who's coming up next, and I'm glad you're coming up. Yeah, but one of the things that we learned last year, and Cahill is here representing our Parks and Recreation, but in the 11 town halls across the board, one of the things that really stuck out, we talked about the common denominators, what we heard in each and every community, parks and recreation, every time. Of course, the automobile guys were in 9 of those 11 meetings in full force too, but we know it's a very important thing. And I would tell you, the other thing we've got going for us is the military is really behind this. I don't know if we have any active duty people or personnel in the audience tonight, but they see it really good for their troops as well, and it would be a benefit for them because many of them are motorsports enthusiasts themselves. They're just on assignment. So we got a lot of good mojo going on this, okay? I just want you to know that. Mr. Grace.
Aloha, George Grace. I'm just a nobody with some questions and some concerns. First of all, thank you very much in your cabinet. But can we give Lee and Bobby a hand for keeping all of us together in the racing community, giving us hope. Giving us hope. There's a lot of them that's not here tonight because they gave up. You kind of really blame them, you know, for all that crap we've been through. But thank you, thank you, Lee, Bobby. Okay, so now I heard